Hey friends, I am back to do the December 2020 budget report, so stick around to hear all of the details because there was all kinds of stuff happening in December that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Hi there, and welcome to the Budget Bounce. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jen, and we talk all about living life on a budget on this channel. We're talking about paying down our debt, saving for our future, and trying to just get our money right because we didn't do it right for a long time. So I'm documenting our journey here, and if that's kind of your thing, then be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and tap the bell so that you'll get notified every time I post a new video. So today we're going to jump into the December 2020 budget report. And if you're new here, you may or may not notice that I posted this quite late, several weeks late actually. And it is because I'm in the middle of a series of trying to get caught up on the fall 2020 budget reports. We had a lot going on then, and I didn't want to skip them. And the reason why we had a lot going on was because I was sick with COVID, and it took me a few months to get back on my feet. I didn't do any content at all for the Budget Bounce for several months, and I'm just getting back into it and trying to get everybody caught up because so much happened while I was gone, and so many things affected our finances. So here we are. We're going to talk about December 2020 and kind of wrap up the year. And we kind of went out with a bang. So I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you guys. So I'm going to turn over here and look at the monitor where my spreadsheet is and share this with you. So you can see that we started with our income. And actually, before we jump into this, I want to share that I use this template every month. It has morphed over time. We've been using it for 3 years and become what it is today. But this is the template that I use every single month to set up our budget and track all of our expenses against our original plan. So if this is something that you'd like to see more of, I actually, if it's something you think you might want to use, I sell this in my Etsy shop, and I have it in both Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. So you can download it in either format, and it has instructions, and actually that one has a lot more functionality than this one does. So feel free to check that out. I'll leave a link down in the description box below for you. So looking at our income, I always black out our salaries, our regular salaries from our full-time jobs. And then I add in all the other things that come in. So first of all, we had sinking funds that we ended up pulling in $2,417. We pulled in $1,500 from the emergency fund. I had a year-end bonus that was $1,962. And then we pulled in $138 from the Budget Bounce, and then $50 from other. And what that is, it was just too long to write it out. We always do a group gift for our boss at work, and one of my coworkers wrote me a check. So I just put it in here as a deposit. So that made our bucket, our total bucket, $17,670, which is a huge amount. Now, let's notice up here, for the first time in a really long time, I have a huge carryover amount from November. And that's because we bought a new house in December, and all of that started in November, and I knew that that was coming and that all these expenses were coming. So we ended up not having to spend everything in November. So I just left it in the account and rolled it over to December. So that's how, with our regular salaries and everything else here, it is adding up to such a huge number. So $17,670 was the income bucket that we had to work with. We do a zero-based budget, so that means that, we originally planned on $16,727. And when we set up our budget, we always set it up to spend every dollar on paper on purpose. Yes, that is a Dave Ramsey quote, because that's where we started. And so I did that at the beginning of the month, and then we track against that throughout the month. So that's what we have to work with. So let's move into giving. And here you can see I planned on spending $700 and ended up spending $1,092, which was $392 over what we originally planned. I will tell you a big chunk of that was from the day after Christmas. We had gotten into our house literally 1 week before, and I realized, holy cow, there's a lot to decorate here. So I took advantage of the day after Christmas sale so that we could get some things for next year. All right, moving on to housing. You can see here we have $1,075 for the mortgage, $123 for our gas and electric utilities, nothing for the quarterly city utilities, which is water, garbage, sewer, because we paid them in November. We had $185 for mobile services and $273 for internet, which you can see we're pretty much on target. We were under in gas electric because we got our rebate back from the summer. So I never know exactly when that's going to hit. So I just always plan on paying the full amount. So we got $20 back this year. And then we were over in internet. And the reason for that is because we paid for the first month in the new house. When I called and set all of that up, even though I knew we wouldn't get billed until January, I went ahead and paid for that first month so we wouldn't get slammed with that first bill. So we ended up being $152 over in housing. In transportation, we spent $267 on gas, $21 on OnStar, and then $271 for the Traverse. And if you watched my November report, you know that we spent a few $100s on the Traverse in November. So we've had it for 4 years now, and it just rolled over 80,000 miles just right at the beginning of 2021. So there are some things that we just hadn't had to do. We bought it almost brand new in 2016, and we hadn't had to replace the battery, and we hadn't had to put brakes on and do anything with the brakes. And anyway, there were a number of things. We've been doing oil changes and tire rotations and whatnot. We did have to replace the tires really early on, like within the first 8 or 9 months that we owned it. But we hadn't, other than those things, we really hadn't done anything since then. So things are hitting, it's at 80,000 miles now, and it's to be expected. So we were at $560 for transportation, and that is $238 over what we originally planned. Anyway, let's move on and talk about food. We had $592 for groceries and $436 for dining. And you can see that was well over what we originally planned. We were over by $428. And this is absolutely a reflection of the groceries was because I was stocking up after we had tried to purge what we could at home. At our other house. Also just things that, like, when you move, you find things in your fridge and you just throw them away because you're looking at things you haven't looked at for a while, and there was tons of expired stuff in there. And so I was replenishing that in the new house. And so that's how our groceries ended up being higher. But dining is super high because the kids were coming over, So our youngest lives with us. And then our oldest also lives here in town, but they live in their own place. So she and her boyfriend were coming over and helping us do some repairs around the house and whatnot to get it ready to sell. So every time they came over on the weekends, we would feed them. So then there would be, 6 of us eating, 3 of them and 3 of us. And so we did that almost every weekend. And so that got to be kind of pricey. I mean, even if you're running to a Taco Bell or a McDonald's, something like that can get really expensive really fast. And we were packing, so there was no way to cook for all these people. The whole house was in chaos. Once we got past Thanksgiving, everything was in chaos, and we didn't close and move until the 18th and 19th of December. So we ate out a lot, and that's what this is. All right, moving on to the next category that used to be called Henry. I changed it to kiddos, and I guess I did it here, but I didn't do it here. And that's because we used to have very specific expenses, things that were specific to Henry, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And, when he was in high school and we were having to pay fees for school and his lunches and whatnot, he had some tutoring and things like that. Those are all things that were very specific to him. So he had his own category. But, Now, yes, he lives here, but I mean, we really don't have any expenses for him anymore. And so I decided to make it kiddos because every once in a while we're doing things for the kids, where we're spending some money, and I'll just reflect that in here instead. In pets, we had $48 for food, $14 for meds, and $57 for other supplies, bringing that total to $120, which you can see was almost $100 under what we planned. After October and November that were kind of crazy because we got the new puppy on October 4th, it was nice to see this kind of stabilize a little bit. So, we were $99 under in pets. In insurance, we were off by a few $100s. We had $217 for medical, $10 for dental, $1,107 for life insurance, $62 for short-term disability, $33 for accident, $41 for critical illness, $30 for Matt's union dues, $47 for mortgage disability, $6 for personal articles, $12 for identity theft, and then we ended up with a minus $63 for auto insurance. Now, let me talk about all of this. So first of all, the medical, the dental, you can't tell it from here, but the life was impacted. It was off by $10.64. Union dues. All of those are less than they should have been because Matt changed jobs. So he works for the same employer, which is the state of Illinois, but he moved from one division to another or one department to another. And apparently when that happens, I mentioned in either the October or November budget report about how long it takes his employer to fix things. And apparently it's not a seamless transition when you move from one department to another. So this is a reflection of one of his two paychecks having his deductions come out, and then the other one did not, because the first one in the month was for the end of November when he was in his old position. He started his new position on December 1st, so his last check in December was for his first couple of weeks in this new job. They didn't take out any of his deductions. None of them. So that's what that is. Then life insurance, the reason why this number is so big is because I have a separate policy with Prudential that we pay every year, and we pay the annual, and it's $965. So we pay that in December every year, so that's why you're seeing that. And then this negative down here for auto insurance is because we were getting insurance refunds and rebates, like good driving rebates and things like that. So those were all coming in, and that brought our total to $1,505, which was $334 under what we originally planned. In streaming, we had $80, and then HP Inc. we had $3, nothing for Cinemark still, nothing for family entertainment. So we ended up spending $83, which was $14 over what we planned. In health, we had $187 for flexible spending. For gym, we had $33. For healthcare, we had $51, bringing our total to $272, which was just right at $50 over what we planned. Extras. To simplify this for my standard budget report, I gave totals here instead of showing all of the detail. And that's because I'm going to do an entirely separate video about all of the details of the finances related to buying our new house and moving and all of those things. So you can see here that I budgeted $7,000 in December for costs associated with moving and buying the house. And we ended up spending $7,839, which was $839 over what we planned. So total was $7,839. Considering all the moving parts that we had going on, I'm honestly surprised that we weren't over by more than that. So, but it did continue into January. It's not over. Usually the first couple of months after I have moved into a new place, as far as buying a house goes, this is the third house that I bought in my adulthood. Usually the first couple of months is when I'm doing the spending, trying to get everything the way that I need it, the way that I like it. And so we're not done. Anyway, so let's move on to crap. I forgot about that. I didn't have anything in December for that. So that was fantastic. All right, in, let's see here, envelopes. Let's see here. We had Matt and I each budget for $40 of personal spending money. I spent $15 and he spent $9. Household, we budgeted $200 and we spent $248, but then in miscellaneous, we were under, we only spent $47. So we came to a total of $321, which was $158 under what we originally planned. And really, honestly, it's because anything that would normally go in here kind of went into that house number that I did in the extras section. So this is really kind of misleading. It's not like we didn't have household and miscellaneous expenses. They just landed somewhere else because we moved. In the budget bounce, nothing spectacular happening here. Just my standard $13.24, right on target like we planned. Moving into savings, you can see here that we planned on putting something in every account. And then I didn't put anything in any of our liquid accounts. So these are the accounts that are just savings accounts at a bank. And I ended up not putting anything in there just out of an abundance of caution to make sure we had funds available if we needed them, which we did. So then we put $10 into M1 Finance, $50 and $25 into the 529s, $40 into Acorns, $165 into Matt's retirement, and $340 into my retirement. That brought our total for the month to $630. And then if you look over here in the spent column, you can see that we pulled out $1,500, which I've already accounted for. I spoke of it in the income section. And that took our balance for our emergency fund down to $1,937. And so our total liquid funds at the end of the month were $3,004. So again, cash available to us if we needed it. And, we left everything alone that we possibly could. We only pulled out what we needed. So yes, our emergency fund is going down, and that is a reality that is alarming for both of us, but we knew it would come. We knew that it would come when we chose to buy the house at the time that we did, instead of making a plan for doing it later. So we are well aware of that, and I will be talking about that through my series where I talk about the purchase of our new home and everything. So, all right, moving into our sinking funds. Let's just run through these real quick. Auto insurance, we did $230. Auto registrations, $40. Business travel, $20. City utilities, $80. Clothing, $40. Nothing into estate planning, gifts, child support, settlement, or holidays. $50 into Image Cosmetics, $81 to life insurance, $50 to healthcare, nothing to One Check Ahead, $80 to online subscriptions, $50 to pet expense, nothing for technology, the budget bounce or vacation, $100 to vehicles, and nothing to wedding anniversary. And that brought our total to $821. So there were a lot of things I just decided not to go ahead and move them over. Just so we would have the funds available if we needed them, which we did. So it worked out great that I made those choices along the way. And if we move over to our spent column here, you can see that I had $150 that we pulled out for city utilities. Of the city utilities, it wasn't for them. And that's because over time it had built up and we had some extra money in there. So I pulled it out to help with just all the expenses for the month. I pulled $500 out of estate planning to help with everything that was going on. $628 came out for holidays, but that was for holidays. $52 came out for Image Cosmetics because I had a haircut and brow wax, so that came out. In life insurance, we pulled $965 out for that annual premium. I pulled $22 out of the budget bounce to help pay for something actually from November. It just didn't hit that all happened at the very end of the month and it didn't hit till early December. So I paid for it in December. And then vehicles, I pulled $100 out. So that was $2,417. And that was already accounted for up in our income. That showed in the sinking funds line up there. So that left us with $3,848 at the end of December in our sinking funds, which are all liquid cash available to us within 2 to 3 business days for most of them. Now let's talk about our debt section. So we have so many debts that we've been paying that we have this broken down into 3 subsections. First of all, we are showing the paid off debts. So these are all debts that are 100% paid and in the rearview mirror They total $32,161. You'll also notice that we have both pink and black fonts. Anything that is black has Matt's name only on it. Anything that's pink has my name on it. We also have one that we share that both of our names are on it, and that's the private student loan. So anyway, it's to distinguish between the two because of how Matt wanted to do things at the very beginning, and so I've just left it in place. In the middle section, we have the charged off / collections section. That total is $6,718, and these are all a bunch of old credit cards that Matt has had. Some from before we met and some from since we've met, that they're long gone and charged off. They're no longer with the original creditors. They're in collections, and we, at Matt's request, have decided to focus on others instead of these that are in collections. And so they're sitting here, we're acknowledging them. We will deal with them later, at a later point in time when we are in a better position to deal with them. Instead, we're focusing on our actively paying section. So here we have a total of $171,577. And let me just run through what we paid in the month of December. So first we had my Care credit card was $75. Gordman's was $80. This is a Capital One card. It was $25. Lowe's was $190. This is that private student loan. It was $50. And then child support came out one time instead of two. This is the deductions that didn't come out of Matt's check. So he only paid half of that in December. And then there is the HELOC, which is $200. The car payment is $550, and the family loan we paid $325. So the total is $1,858, which is less than what we planned. So let's look at the totals over here. We have $179,863 is what we started the month with. And then we had a couple $100, almost $300 that we had to pay in interest. And we ended the month at $178,295. So I'm going to go over to these totals before I go down to these. So we have total expenses of $17,805. Total income of $17,670, and that means we spent $134 more than we brought in. And I think that might have been a timing issue with some of the transfers out of the sinking funds, but I'm not sure until I get into January. Anyway, we had a big, like I said at the beginning, we had this big bucket of income to work with. You can see that I tried to, budget to the dollar, to the penny, excuse me. And we went over by a little bit. So considering everything that we had going on and the thousands of dollars that we were spending on all of the things going on with the house, I am actually pleased with this. I expected this number to be higher. So, or lower, however you want to look at it. I expected this negative to be, more like 500 negative instead of just 134. So let me jump back over here and let's talk about these balances over here. So our original starting debt balance was $263,358. This number represents the amount of debt that we've officially killed off this month. So $1,568 of debt is gone forever. And that is taking, the total debt into account and the interest that we had to pay. And then we have our total paid to date, which is $85,062. So we hit a 5K milestone. We have paid off $85,000 of our debt. We're really excited about that. Now, these percentages, these are representing a couple of different things. This 19.5% is the total debt that we paid divided by our regular salaries. So not the whole income bucket, but our regular salaries that came in, just so we can keep track of how much we're putting towards the debt. And then the total paid to date, this percentage here does line up with this number, 32.3%. That is this number divided by this number. We've paid off 32.3% of our original debt. So we only have, like 68-ish% left to go. But we're really excited about that. It's a big milestone to hit 85K, and yeah, 100K is just around the corner. We're really excited to get there and put that in our rearview mirror. 100K. I'll take 85K and we'll work our way to the rest of it. I hope you guys will stay along with us for the journey. I do plan on continuing to do this for the foreseeable future. I hope that our story maybe gives you some hope that, even with over $250,000 of consumer debt, we were able to find our way through this. So I hope that everybody had a wonderful holiday season, that you're having a good start to 2021. Ours definitely we had a great holiday season, a different holiday season, just like everyone else. But the fact that we moved, the pandemic had one set of factors, but then we moved, and that just changed everything for the holidays for us. But 2021 has started off with challenges, and they're not going to get better anytime soon. I'll share all of that with you guys along the way, but we are still going to keep on trucking when it comes to our finances, saving for our future, paying down our debt, trying to get our money under control. So I look forward to you being with us on the journey, and that's all I've got for you today. Till next time.